So today we are going to be talking about an arising situation happening here in Ghana where more and more people from the diaspora are coming here and just causing issues, okay? And I feel like it's even getting to the point, like Kimberly and I have been discussing off camera, is how the more and more people from the diaspora are coming here, causing more conflict, causing more harm than good.
Yes, I mean, and it's to the point where I believe when I walk into government offices, immediately they don't accept me well. And I think it's because they think we're all like that. They think we all come over here privileged with this a sense of entitlement. I witnessed this lady African-American lady getting her house. We together moved into a brand new house. For the first people in the house. And the workers came and she talked so nasty to them. The housekeeper had just mopped the floor and the workers don't know. They're coming in. They really don't even speak the language. She was like, freshly mop, fresh mop, fresh mop, fresh mop. I said, Melissa, they don't know your floor is freshly mopped. Can you just say, excuse me, my floor is freshly mopped? You're talking at them. Fresh mop, fresh mop, fresh mop. Then they needed to stand in a chair and put a bulb up. They took her chair. She said, oh my God, why would you stand in my chair? You didn't come prepared. You didn't bring a ladder. You're just standing in my chairs. It's okay. You think it's okay to do that? Just go, 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 go. Don't bring them back. They won't be using my restroom when they come back. They better outside somewhere. And I was just like, whoa.
Right.
I eventually had to snap on her myself. And after I finished, because she would poke at me and my husband a lot as well. Once I snapped on her because I just couldn't take it no more, I packed my stuff, sat outside the gate and called the driver to come get me.
Right.
Didn't go back.
End of the story. The end. For me, I don't know about, and I'm pretty sure there's other people who probably have similar stories, but for me, I'm noticing this trend of bad behavior is coming from people who are specifically coming from America. I don't know if your experience with this particular person you're referring to is from America.
Yes.
So I've noticed that all of the encounters that I have had that has been in a negative light has been encounters with other Americans. And my thing is that if you have that mentality and you have...
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Some and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. You know what? I'm going to give credit to Corporate Junky for this one. Fair use. Now, another video of his came up in my algorithm. I don't know what kind of opinion I'm going to have of Corporate Junky over time yet, or what opinion he may ever have of me if he even ever knows I exist. I'm going to talk about this specific particular video, though. He has addressed the issue of diasporans that go back to the continent, specifically Ghana, and the conflicts that it causes. What I want to point out is that I know of a Creole brother from New Orleans and Ghana who's not dealing with this. He does see the culture shock, but he doesn't go there with an attitude of inferiority or arrogance. He has stated that he has witnessed from his own eyes some of the Western sister attitude begin to creep in amongst Ghanaian women. But I'm going to point this out too, though. You got two African-American women that went back, and I don't think they went back meaning any harm, but they both noticed that you've got these sisters that are going back. And I want to point something out. Corporate Junky said in another video, to which I recorded a long response, and now I need to delete because it's not relevant anymore. Corporate Junky said that the year of return did not attract the best of the African Americans, it attracted the worst. My response to Corporate Junky would be that this here that I played from your other video, Mr. Corporate, is actually indicative of the true problem. African American men won't generally go somewhere to cause trouble because we understand the concept of their house, their rules. They get that. They realize, brothers tend to realize that if you go somewhere, you got to follow the rules. Now I say they because even though I am a black man, although that's argued by some, I am willing to disrespect people's rules. Not so much their laws, but I am willing to disrespect cultural norms if the cultural norms don't work. I'll even disrespect laws if the laws don't work. I don't respect culture more than I respect God's religion. Whether it's African American culture, Liberian culture, or rather one of the Liberian cultures, or one of the Ethiopian cultures, or Somali customs, or Arab customs, or the Nguni customs in South Africa, or the customs of the Khoi, or the San, or the Benda. I don't feel a guck when it comes to customs versus morality. I put morality over culture every time. So I am a bit different in that regard. It's nothing personal. If it sounds disrespectful, then understand that I respect Western European culture the least of all. Egyptian and Pakistani and Indian cultures probably right after that. Arab culture about third or fourth. I just don't respect them because they don't work. And if any of you goes to my Buy Me a Coffee and subscribes, you get to hear about this debate that I had with one of my students. And I might have this debate when I go into work today in under an hour. As a matter of fact, that same student to whom I referred in my Buy Me a Coffee post, I just found out cheated on his exam. I ran his essay through an AI detector, and it came back, said 100% AI generated, none of it human written. 100%. I can't stand that little nigga. Now this is an Arab, a non-black Arab, straight Bedouin from one of the oldest tribes in this region. But he can't take his exam without cheating. I'm about to drop him. I'm going to tell you all, though, that getting back to this, other black men do understand their house, their rules. African American women are not known for that. You've got these two sisters whose voices you just heard, African American, and the attitudinal, neck rolling, air grabbing, sapphire snaps in a circle sister is making things difficult even for these two. Corporate, you made mention once of how black men and black women of America talk badly about each other. Let me go ahead and tell you straight away who's right and who's wrong. Black men are right, black women are wrong in the United States, for the most part. Black women and black men in America actually don't even follow exactly the same culture. We have to live in the same places in many cases. But in all honesty, we don't actually follow the exact same culture. You see, there are certain things that if you hear a black man do, you already know he was raised by a single mom. And a lot of us are not aware of this, but we're becoming aware of it. I know. If I hear a black man express colorism, not a preference, but outright colorism, like light-skinned women act this way, dark-skinned women act that way, he could be telling the truth, and I still know he's raised by a single mom. How do you know? Real simple. Who explained that to him? His mama. And if he wasn't raised by a single mom, his mom stopped his dad from giving his input. That's the other thing. And I'm going to tell you straight away that we're breaking away from them for this reason. The year of return attracted probably various types of African American men. And as a matter of fact, more than likely it attracted better broader thinking black men from America. It did not attract the same from Black America because, in all honesty, oftentimes those women would have already been in the continent if they could get there. What we need is blockchain, and we need blockchain. And some of you want to know exactly what the hell that means. Well, I would say it again, go to my Buy Me a Coffee account to find that out. But blockchain means that you don't just walk into some place and fill out paperwork to be able to move to a blacker location. It means that you need to be referred. That's what that means. It's like being a Passport Bro or SYSBM. There needs to be a link somewhere, a chain, a black chain to one of these things before you claim it. Before you could carry a card that identifies you as such, you need a chain, a link to some originals. So even if you were not introduced to it by one of those who sat down and wrote the tenets of whichever one it is, you still have a link going back to them. It's like that with scholarship. Scholarship in Islam follows a chain. Who taught you? Now, who taught him? Who taught him? Who taught him? The chain goes way back. It eventually goes back to the prophet. Peace and prayers be to him. Not prayers to him, but I mean like prayers on his behalf. That's what that means in this case. If you hear us say peace and prayers on him, that's what that means. It's the best way I could explain it, at least. We need this sort of chain in this case. The year of return was not wrong, but it should have been done through a chain, invitation, reference. This was the first time that was done, so I can understand honest mistakes. But the truth be told, corporate. Black American women and quite a few diasporan women from the Caribbean as well, especially the Anglophone Caribbean, are not ready to go back home and abide by even the rules and the laws that do work. I am the main one to disrespect anything that doesn't work. But they will disrespect what does. Fresh mop, fresh mop, fresh mop. Yeah, she's one of those women that doesn't communicate. She's one of those women that needs to be slapped, but never got slapped in the U.S. because it's illegal. I can tell you this woman has hit men before. I'd bet you money she has struck a man before, and she probably struck a man that loves her. She's one of them. So I'm going to tell you straight that we're not the same. And that's really a lot of what you're seeing. If an African-American man or Jamaican man goes to anywhere in West Africa, Ghana, or anywhere else, and starts to become disrespectful, best believe it is because they're being given a hard time. It could be bureaucratic in nature, just red tape. But then when they run a business and they can't get all the paperwork together, they still run it. Then somebody shows up, some inspector or someone shows up and starts asking for exactly the papers they could get. And that's when they flip out. We generally will only flip out if it's something like that. Or let's say if we're talking with folks and people that don't understand what we're saying, nod their heads, yeah, and give us the wrong information. Which ironically, I don't find to be the case with English-speaking Africans, like Ghanaians. I find that to be the case with those North Africans. I find them to do that. A Moroccan man, black Moroccan, no, but a black Moroccan man cost me $500 years ago. I'll never forgive him for that. And if I could find him today, I'd push him in front of a train. I hate that man to this day. One nod of his head and answer, yes, he put me on a wrong train, made me miss a flight, everything. I'll never forgive him, because if he didn't understand, he could have said, could you say it more slowly, please? He could have done that. No, this nigga ain't do it. And I find that happening with a lot of the Bedouins here too. So I don't respect their ways. And then, like I mentioned, they cheat. They get into positions for which they're unqualified. The reason the country stays up is because of qualified people that are not Bedouin. They don't necessarily have to be foreign anymore, but they got to not be Bedouin. That means they have to practice their lives. They have to live their lives in a way that are not considered keeping it real by Arab standards, specifically Gulf Arab standards. That's how they have to live their lives. They are competent doctors from these Gulf countries, but they don't act like Gulf people. Certainly not like Bedouins. If they spend their weekends out in the desert, they spend their weekends in the desert by themselves studying. So I disrespect their culture, and I live here. I don't disrespect, per se, all Arab culture. It's not all the same, but I disrespect Bedouin culture right off of the bat. Some of them ask me if I want to go camping in the desert. I tell them right off the bat, I don't want to, and I'm not going to next weekend or the weekend after that. I will never camp in the desert if I have a choice. Some of them ask me, am I ever going to wear their clothes? I'll say to them, I will never wear your clothing if I have a choice. Some of them have asked me to say certain words without telling me what they mean. And I say to them, I will never use a word from your language without someone telling me what it means. Because as soon as I say it, you bust out laughing, you'll never explain it. And then someone later on will tell me that was an insult. So no, we're not doing that. I will do stuff like that. Most Black American men are actually more respectful of cultures and rules than I am. And I'm very respectful of whatever the hell works. I'm very respectful of organization in general and order. And that's why it is that I won't respect what doesn't work. Most Black men, most of my demographic of any nationality, will simply go somewhere where things are better organized and functional before they just pitch a fit about what doesn't work somewhere. We can't say the same thing for African American women, and diasporan women of other Anglophone nations in the Americas tend to try to be like African American, or actually are very similar already to African American women in that regard. Making nasty assumptions, the gossip is off the wall, assuming the worst, especially if it's about a man. It's like that. There are assumptions, corporate, that African American women have made about me because of my complexion. Assumptions they made about my psychology and my behavior, tying it to my complexion. And it's almost never positive. We're not the same. Even Black American women that are willing to go to Ghana, because they are a mix in ideology, the ones that are willing to go and go by the rules are suffering because of these bastard niches like Melissa. You heard it yourself. What I think needs to be the case is what Nigeria is considering doing. Shout out to Base Muslim for this. Unofficially, some Nigerian immigration officials unofficially are considering denying African American women visas unless they're going with groups like families or companies or something. But just going by, like just one applying by herself, no, They're considering denying all of those. She's going to need to come with proof that she's related, or she's a Nigerian American, or she's going to need to come with an application along with her husband's or companies, something like that. That's what's going to happen if this goes through. And like I said, it's unofficial. You can't profile like that legally. I understand that, but I don't blame them if they do. Because in all honesty, black men of the United States are now beginning to be independent of black women. And I've said it that way for a reason. They've always been independent of us. Hell, they've insisted on ruling us and doing it the wrong way. Corporate, understand this. When you go to the jails, like you mentioned, in the United States, and they're filled up with these brothers from the U.S., these brothers from the U.S. were raised by mom and no dad. Or if dad was there, he wasn't allowed to do much. There's that too. These, that's not all. These brothers, well, let's look at some of the sisters that recently in the States, and I call them sisters because they're sisters to each other, corporate. They become judges and mayors, district attorneys. And what have they done? They have abused their power. Now, the ones who don't do so are not going to make the news. That I do know. I know they don't make the news. But the ones who are making the news have gross abuses of power. They're not the first ones to do it, but they're doing it in a wave that is giving black women in America bad publicity. And now even we, black men, don't trust them in positions with political power. I know a judge decades ago cheated on her pastor husband with a criminal that had been in her court, and she was giving him some of her husband's money. Now, this husband did the right thing. He promptly divorced her when he found out. She was no longer able to be a judge, but she was an attorney, and she was one until she passed away. That's years ago in my hometown, which is very conservative. Moving forward, we now have Tiffany Henyard of Dalton, Illinois. Ratchet mess. The district attorney of Fulton. I forgot Fanny something. I forgot the rest of her name. Blue Cantrell of New Orleans. And the judge in Douglas County, whose name I forgot, that put a Thai woman in jail. She was a probate court judge. She put a Thai woman in jail for having a black American husband. And she's been, I put a link up to that in my community tab. Corporate, this is what we're facing, so we ain't the same, bro. Go ahead, block sisters from going in without some sort of chain of reference. You can let most brothers go. Brothers from the States and from the Caribbean, you can let them go. But Anglophone diasporan sisters need to have somebody that can vouch for them. We do double standards over here, Jet Black Airways, because we have to, because we ain't the same. I hope that this message helps out. Thanks for listening. As always, Black Heart, Black Mind, Black Out. Assalamu alaikum, Black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it. Black patriarchy in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Togo, Benin, Botswana, Namibia, Angola, South Africa, Cabo Verde, Somalia, Senegal, Ethiopia, Jamaica, Guyana, Brazil, all over. Black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. And thank you for flying with us again here at Jet Black Airways, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.